How to be more successful from hunting from the ground. I'm talking to Jesse Hines. He and his hunting partner have killed a lot of bucks from the ground in different settings, and he shares some things he's learned over the years and how often they get busted from the ground. You might be surprised. Let's get right into it. Here we go. How would you describe your hunting style? Because we live in the world of whitetail media. It's like there's different attributes to what a hunter is, and I think that's good for the most part, because it helps people understand, okay, this is kind of what you do, so your tactics may work for me, or maybe it's a completely different style and you still might be able to get some tidbits from it. But how would you describe your hunting style?
Unorthodox, uh, I think is a perfect term. There's times to get aggressive and times to lay back, and there's things that Matt and I do. We aren't afraid to go stand in a brush pile like off the ground, or we're not afraid to go sit in a blind, and freeze our butts off with a heater, or hang and bang, have a mobile set up. So definitely unorthodox. I mean, there's not very many people out there that are willing to leave the stand in the truck and go sit in a brush pile or in a hole in the hole in the ground. And
Mm-hmm.
we do
You
that,
quite,
and it
yeah,
successfully.
yeah, for sure. And I think for most tree stand folks, the ground is just, I mean, we walk on the ground every day, all the time. But when you have a bow in your hand and you're deer hunting, it feels like a cat in water at that
It
point,
does.
because you're like,
Yeah,
what's going on? I can't see anything. I guess you can hear, but what do you like hunting from the ground?
I do. I mean, it's a different challenge, and honestly, you get by with a lot more than you think you do. I mean, if you have a good setup, I mean, I'm not going out there and standing with no cover in the middle of a cornfield. I'm not doing that. We're finding terrain or some sort of fallen down tree. We've killed a few deer standing next to like a bunch of trash that a farmer has taken out, like a bunch of scrap metal in the timber. We've used that to hide next to or hide behind. We have that where we don't actually have that farm anymore, but we have that one spot where there's literally uh, it's like a hole in the ground. It's like right next to a creek. It's like the creek may have washed it out eventually at one point, but it's just this big round, probably 4x6 area that's eye level with the ground. And Matt and I can climb down in that, and we've killed uh, multiple deer standing in that. So
That's crazy. And when you say you can get away with more than what you think, explain that a little bit. Like in terms of, you're a little bit more concealed than what you think, or you can get away with a little
yeah,
bit more movement than what you think.
more. I think people, you talk about hunting on the ground, and people just think, well, you can't move. Well, we're doing this with a bow. I mean, we've killed them with a gun in off the ground too, but a lot of these are with a bow, so you have to have movement. And we're doing it at the time. We're still doing it, but we were doing this with two people. So I was filming, or Matt was filming, and we were killing them with a bow. So you have to be able to draw a bow back and shoot it. And we're not doing it with a crossbow or anything like that, but you can move. I mean, the wind's blowing and the grass is blowing, and stuff like that. I mean, you have, like I said, you're tucked up in the brush or next to something or in something, not just standing out in the middle of your yard and expecting deer to walk by.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Yeah, I think it's just a hard thing for people to really want to do because we're,
yeah,
we're so accustomed to wanting to be in a tree. But
yep, just climb a tree.
yeah, and I assume in some of those locations, is there even trees to climb, or is it just real short, like mulberry hedge, tree line
Uh,
type stuff?
yeah, there is tree. There might be some trees, but you're just better off just staying down. Some of the trees are, 3, 4, 5 inches in diameter. Well, you're going to look like a bear hanging off the side of a tree. If you're up in any kind of lock on or saddle or anything. So
Mhm.
just just taking with what you've got access to. I mean, there are times where we probably could just climb a tree, but at the time we didn't really have mobile setups. We just had set stands, and that's what we had. And if we had to go move, you know we just climbed in a brush pile if that's where the deer was walking or whatever.
Right. Yeah. That's how many bucks have you guys killed off the ground? It's quite. It's more than a few.
Yeah, it's like it's 9 or 10. So it's not just, getting lucky once in a while. It's consistently doing it. I mean, we've probably done, Matt did it last year again. So it's probably one every year for the past, one or two every year for the past 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. How do you guys get busted often with like does or like satellite bucks or little bucks that come in and check things out and you're like, oh, it is what it is, and you just hang and hang tight, or what's that look like? Because I'm sure that's, if someone that's going to go try that this year, they're going to get busted more than likely at some point. And so how often does that happen to you guys?
Not as often as you would think. I mean, we're still hunting everything correctly with the right wind and stuff. And I know we're going to get into it later, but a lot of these farms that we're doing this on is, low deer density farms, but is a good rut funnel at the time. So if you catch a deer coming through there, more than likely, it's either one, cruising so hard it's not paying attention, or two, it's the buck you want, or three, it's a doe that's, getting chased. I mean, granted,
Mhm.
there are some does that work through, and sometimes we do get busted. I'm not going to say we never do, but but a lot of times we don't. Like last year when Matt killed that buck off the ground, it was his buck was the that he killed was the first deer that walked by him. So it's
Mhm.
just just what however it works out. But a lot of times, no, we don't get busted.
And when you guys are hunting in the ground, is that primarily peak, what most people would consider peak rut, or is that? I mean, you guys have killed them late season too, or gun season, which I kind of lump
Yeah,
into late season.
yeah. I mean, with a gun, I don't necessarily. Yes, it's still killing on the ground, but it's not as
A little bit different.
in not as intimate as you want to call, with a bow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the the earliest I think we've killed one is November 1st. So you're looking at rut, but
Hmm.
late the with a gun or with a bow, the last deer we killed on the ground was the day after, either Thanksgiving or the day after. I don't remember. So yeah, you're looking at rut basically. That's the tail end where the bucks are really starting to travel to look for that last doe.